You've opened the Powers Playbook, your guide to family, wealth, and real estate.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Powers Playbook. This is your host, Aaron Powers. And the play that we're running today is actually coming from our man behind the camera, Mr. Al King. He was a guest on the show previously. And I asked him, I was like, hey, man, what real estate topic would be helpful? What could we go over today? And he said, you know what? If I can't get my down payment funds all together by the time I want to purchase a home, what are my options? So that is the essence of today's episode, is what are your options for down payment if you're looking to buy a home? So we're going to go through those. We'll do it from a couple of standpoints. One as just a regular primary residence buyer. And then just to piggyback off of that for anybody who's looking for an investment property or a second home or something more creative, we can discuss that as well. So first off, you have a lot of options for down payment. It's going to depend upon you as the borrower. There's always 4 things to determine when you're getting a loan for anything. So we're talking about down payment. It's a given that you're going to be borrowing money and getting a loan. Otherwise, if you're paying cash, down payment's the entirety of the purchase. So it's 4 things. It's credit, assets, down payment, like reserves or job, or how does that concoction all come together, right? So for down payment purposes, it's going to depend on the kind of loan you're getting. So you've got a few out there: FHA loan, conventional loan, VA loan. Those are the big 3. FHA is your first time home buyer loan for a lot of people. It's also the one you're going to get the best rate on most of the time. An FHA loan is 3.5% down. So you may want to maybe write these down as I go through them so you can kind of take notes and follow along. So FHA, Federal Housing Administration, down payment 3.5%. Okay. VA loan. A VA loan is only if you're a veteran. You can only get this if you've either served or are active in the military. There are opportunities that you can get this from a family member, use their VA benefit. Probably a whole separate episode, but reach out if you have questions on VA. VA loan is no money down. So you do not have to put down $1 for down payment. We do have to source funds. You do have to be able to make the payment. There are other things involved with this, but VA, you can do no money down. So to answer Al's question, if you're a veteran, it's okay if you don't come up with your down payment. We just need you to be able to make the payments on the loan. Third loan, conventional. Conventional can be as little as 3% down if you qualify as a first-time home buyer. Typically, it's going to be anywhere from 5% on. So you can put 5%, 10%. A lot of people will hit you with that, oh, I need 20%, right? You don't actually need 20% down to buy a house. I'll tell you why in a second. But those are your big 3: FHA, VA, conventional. Okay? So if you can come up with 3.5% down, and when we say percent, we're just talking about the sales price of the property. Okay, so for an example for you, if a house is $300,000 and you're looking at 3.5%, 1% is going to be 3,000, right? So that's 369. That's your 3%. Your half is 1,500. So 3.5% down of 300,000 would be $10,500. That's the amount of down payment you would need to purchase that home. Okay. You can do the percentages off of whatever sales price you're looking at. There's all sorts of mortgage calculators out there online that you can use. Just be careful when you are. One of the biggest things people miss is they do a mortgage calculator and they don't factor in what the actual down payment percentage they want to put down. So, if you do the ones online where you can just easily put in the numbers, they're automatically going to go, oh, you're putting 20% down, you're putting 40% down. Like, they're going to make the payment look better than it actually is. So just be careful of that as you go through. Down payment is probably the biggest change of that metric, other than, of course, what your interest rate is going to be. But today we're talking about down payment. Okay, so those are your down payment models. It's kind of what you're going to focus on as you go through. If you cannot get it all on your own, what are your options? Which I think was the essence of Al's question when he asked. And you can do a few different things. You could try to qualify for a down payment assistance program. There are many of these out there. Some of them are state specific. Some of them are national. Some of them depend on which lender or what bank you're using. So these are questions that you're going to have to ask a mortgage lender that you're working with, or a few different ones. Hey, what do you have for down payment assistance? Okay. What this is it's going to be a grant of some sort. You may have to, take an online class or, go through some sort of hours of education in order to receive this grant, but there are many of them out there. What this is going to do is it's going to grant you potentially up to 3.5%, sometimes up to 5% of your down payment will be gifted to you in order to purchase this property. Now, in all things, nothing in life, well, I shouldn't say nothing. Most things in life are not free. Okay, so if you're getting a down payment assistance program, they're going to assist you. You're going to be able to get the funds to close. In most cases, your closing costs may be a little bit more. Your interest rate might be slightly higher, because basically what you're going to do is you're going to end up paying that money back generally over the lifetime of the loan that you're getting. So is down payment assistance worth it? If you need the money, yes, absolutely it can be. If you can do it with all of your own funds, you're going to get a better deal in the long run, because you're not borrowing from anybody. You're not getting money granted that you're, paying back over time or whatever the case may be. In all things real estate, you have your own money, your own funds, your own down payment. You're going to get a better overall deal for monthly payment and everything else involved. So just keep that in mind. Down payment assistance is out there, but I don't believe it's the right thing for everyone. So that's why we do one-on-one consultations with all of our clients, and that's kind of the main reason why we want to figure out, like, what are their wants and needs. Do you just want this money? I mean, hey, money's great, don't get me wrong. But what I want to know is, like, do you need this money? And that may change how we factor in the deal. Okay, so another way for down payment is there's a lot of programs out there depending on what you do for a living. There's a teacher's program. There is a program for first responders, police, firefighter, medical. There is a culinary union program. Sometimes your, unions as far as like electrical workers, iron workers, different things like that may have loan programs as well. And then every now and then, banks, local, national, they'll come out with programs like, hey, Nevada has a grant right now. They'll give you up to $20,000 to buy a house in these specific areas or these zip codes. And it's, there's so much in the pool available. When those come out, if you hear about those, you need to basically act immediately. Because as soon as you get the word of that news, so do thousands of other people. So a lot of times those are harder to catch on to, because you have to qualify, get the funding, and close on the property in time before that funding runs out. So some of these have a time commitment on them, time period on them. The ones that are a lot of times like state funded or come from a particular location are sometimes a little bit more short term. The ones I talked about previously, as far as teachers, first responders, culinary, those are usually ongoing. So you can get some really good deals. Those of you that are in those, essentially the VA, being part of the military, offers the same thing. They'll allow you to do a loan for no money down. So all of you who are veterans, thank you for your service. It is by far the best loan that you can possibly get. To be able to go and buy a house and not put any money down is amazing. It's fantastic. Those of you that do have a VA loan, I should probably do another episode just on this, but you can utilize that loan to start to buy multiple properties. And I know we've helped people in the past who will be stationed here for a certain amount of time, buy a house, with the intent on, in 3 to 4 years, when they get restationed, they're now going to turn that into a rental property. And they'll just flip that over and over and over again. And at the end of your career, you can end up with 5 or 6 houses, one that you live in and the others that you're renting out. Okay. Last on down payment, and then we're going to switch over a little bit to the investment side since I just mentioned it. You can get your down payment gifted. Okay. A lot of times that this gift must come from an immediate family member. So, your second cousin's brother's uncle probably can't source and fund your entire down payment. However, your mom and dad, somebody in your immediate family, brother, sister, son, whatever the case may be able to contribute to the funds for your down payment. Okay, so just as an example for you, I've told this story before, but it works in this case. Emily bought her first home, and her and I were not married yet, and her parents were on the loan with her and gifted the down payment, and that's how we bought our first house. So there are options. Let's say you've done everything you possibly can, and you've saved up $8,000, but you need $10,500 for 3.5% down. Is there anyone in your life you can go to and say, hey, I've built this whole thing. Is there any possible way that you could gift me $1,500? This is the house I want to buy, and I'll make a deal with you to pay it back after the fact. Okay. There's nothing in there that's going to allow you to pay them back out through the house in the end of this. So you're going to have to come up with a payment plan for that person, or maybe they just love you enough to simply gift it to you. But that is an option. You can definitely have your down payment gifted to you. So those are most of the ways to source down payment. So just to kind of reiterate, one is to save your own money, come to the table and utilize one of the loan programs we talked about. Number 2, find some sort of assistance program or a program that works with the career field that you're in. Those are the other option. Option 3, have it gifted, right? And this could be a full gift. It could be a partial gift. Talk to your mortgage lender to figure out if gifting is an option and up to how much, and different loan programs. I don't want to go too far into it because as soon as I tell you, they'll change it. we always love to do that. Same thing with taxes, right? Like as soon as you get your tax code in order, the next year they're like, oh, nope, we're going to only give 50% of that now. So I don't like to go too much in specifics just because my license is in real estate. It's not in mortgage lending. But those are the ways to source down payment for you. All right. Now, on the flip side of this, let's say you want to buy an investment property. It depends on the type of property, but in most cases, you are going to want to probably have to put down at least 10% minimum on an investment purchase. This is a purchase where at the beginning, you're not going to live there. It's specifically just for investment purchase. It's not going to be a primary residence. And so most banks, lenders, they're going to make you put down a larger sum of money for down payment. In almost all cases, there is no availability here to get assistance, right? This is you've got to have the money to do this. Okay. So in investing, the best deals that you're going to get are at 20 to 25% down. In fact, depending on what type of property, if it's like a condo or a townhouse or anything shared or high rise, you may be mandated to put 25% down in those cases. But we really are probably starting at around 10 minimum. And then most lenders are definitely going to want you to have 20% down in order to buy an investment property. You're going to pay higher rates. So just notice that as well. Your investment rate is not your primary residence rate. So, ask us if you have any questions on that. But for investment purchases, you are going to have a larger sum of down payment, which really goes into your benefit in the long run anyways, because if you're only buying this property to rent it out and you have to carry a mortgage, you're going to want to make sure that the rent is going to hopefully at least cover the mortgage for you. So that way the debt can be paid down over time and the tenant can help you pay it off, right? That's the game that we're playing in this case. So on investment side, you'll need a little bit more money, but for what you're buying it for, you're going to have more skin in the game anyways. Okay. That is pretty much all the ways to source down payment for you. The biggest lesson in this, honestly, is start earlier than you think. Pick a certain amount of money that you're going to save every month. Start a fund, a different account, something you don't touch, and just start to put money in it. And start saving for yourself, right? I always say 2 is always better than 1. Meaning like if you can buy a home with a spouse or significant other, it's a heck of a lot easier than trying to do it on your own, because 2 incomes is greater than 1 income. So they're kind of like a life hack for you. I'm not telling you have to go out and, pick somebody and get married necessarily, but you can do a lot more collectively than you can on your own. So just think about that. And that goes along with the gifting too. Just having a plan set in motion to then carry out and be able to navigate that for yourself. On your down payment assistance programs, if you're going to take money or get a grant, just make sure you're aware of how long you have to live in that home. Okay. Some of them will have stipulations, meaning that if I took down payment assistance on this property, there may be a penalty if I sell it before 5 years or 10 years. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to take this money and I need it to buy this house, but like, what are the long-term effects of that? How can it affect you negatively in 3 to 5 years if you now want to sell this house and move to something else? Maybe it makes more sense to wait a few months, save the money on your own so that you have the ability to trade, buy, sell, whatever you want to do on your own time rather than on somebody else's. So this is what I mean by like, nothing is free. The money may be free at the time, but you're not free and clear to do anything you want to do in most of these cases. You probably will have some stipulations. So make sure that you ask what those are, because I've had people who have gotten down payment assistance and then 2 years later they want to sell that house and they realize that they have to pay back the entirety of the grant that was given to them if they decide to sell. And that could be a difference of, $10,000. Could be a lot of money. So we want to be very aware of what we're signing up for and what we're doing, who we're listening to, what advice we're taking. So let's just, be careful and make sure that we know all of the avenues we can go down before we decide that, yes, that's the best one for me. We want to work with people who are going to give us multiple options, and then we can weigh the balances of those and then choose what to move forward with. So that's kind of how we like to operate it, is just what are the options, what works specifically for you, and then we can walk you down the road that leads to that. And sometimes that is down payment assistance, right? Sometimes it's a gift, and sometimes it's waiting 6 more months so you can save up the funds on your own and doing everything in your own time and making your own decisions. So hopefully that helps. Some down payment sourcing information for you. If you guys have any specific questions, or you're thinking like, hey, that doesn't work for me because I make money this way, or, somebody else told me blah, blah, this, and what you said doesn't add up. Why is that? Just let us know. Feel free to reach out. We give free consultations for all of our buyers. We want to make sure that you know the entire process before you get started. So you can do one of two things. You can always reach out to us via phone. Our phone number will be listed below. And you can always email info@powersre.com, and we will answer any specific questions that you have. And happy saving. Let's save for that down payment, whether primary or investment. And we will see you on the next episode. Thanks, guys.